Here is Midway 1942, the day Japan marched in full confidence while the US already knew everything. Because once American codebreakers cracked the messages, they basically said, yeah, they're definitely coming. So Japan prepared with textbook precision, while the US prepared with chaotic energy that somehow worked. Midway was tiny on the map, but instantly became Japan's biggest headache. Japan sailed out with a full carrier task force, like they were clearing the final game map. Meanwhile, the Americans were like, this is bad, but let's wing it anyway. Inside US intelligence rooms, everyone looked tense, but acted like a comedy troupe. On Midway, Marines ran around like they were practicing professional backwards jogging. Japan dropped bombs dramatically, and Marines dodged bombs even more dramatically. American pilots saw that and said, all right, fine, it's our turn to carry the team. The dauntless squadrons prepared for takeoff while shaking like a washing machine on turbo. But their determination was bright enough to light up the ocean. On deck, US sailors ran around in panic, but pretended it was totally professional. Japan felt confident, thinking Midway would fall like a sandcastle. But the US basically had all the spoilers of the battle beforehand. Marines held their positions, firing, dodging, yelling, like a synchronized chaos performance. Explosions, shouting, equipment dropping beautifully organized chaos everywhere. American pilots strapped in, breathing hard like they were entering the final battle royale circle. They nodded to each other like, let's just do it. Retreating isn't an option. Japan kept striking Midway, feeling like they were leading 3-0 at halftime. Midway burned under thick smoke, while Marines tried repairing guns like desperate mechanics. American pilots finally got into formation with grim determination. Their plane shook violently, like every bolt was reconsidering its life choices. But the bombers still lifted off, making everyone exhale in relief. The sky above Midway glowed bright, while everyone's nerves also glowed bright with fear. The US squadron climbed like an angry flock of birds seeking revenge. Below, soldiers waved goodbye, like sending kids off to college. Pilots looked down and thought, okay, we'll handle the rest from here. Meanwhile, Japan had no idea a disaster was loading for them. And that's the moment the story started shifting. The US squadron soon realized the wind today was strong enough to slap them into next week. But nobody complained. They simply gripped the controls like grabbing onto life itself. Their only thought was, if we hit them, the Pacific changes color today. On Japanese ships, officers continued planning confidently, unaware they were doomed. They didn't know the Americans could read their moves like a children's book. American pilots kept flying with the face of students called to the board unprepared. They tried to hold formation, even though their planes rattled like scrap metal. Below them, Japanese carriers looked shiny and perfect, tragically perfect. Japan remained relaxed, thinking the entire ocean belonged to them. Meanwhile, the US thought, staying calm is ideal. But panic also works. One pilot checked his watch and thought, "Yep, it's almost history time." The squadron pushed through the clouds like entering the boss fight arena. Japan finally noticed strange signals on radar and did not enjoy it. Officers stared at each other with calm faces, but panicked hearts. The radar operator basically rang the incoming doom bell. American pilots inhaled deeply and prepared for the long drop from heaven to hell. The wind shook them so hard one almost swore, but swallowed it back. Japan activated their anti-air guns like fireworks, but extremely unfun ones. American pilots dodged the shells like a mobile obstacle course with real consequences. Marines on the ground watched with stress levels higher than the pilots. The American squadron dove lower, stomachs dropping faster than the planes. Japanese sailors ran around below like chickens spotting a hawk. Smoke, gunfire, engine roars mixed into a chaotic soundtrack. Pilots saw the Japanese deck clearly and knew, this is it. They adjusted their dive angle, heart pounding like festival drums. The whole squadron lined up, eyes laser-focused on the target. Japanese sailors looked up and saw dauntless bombers falling like meteor strikes. And in that second, the entire battle snapped into high-speed mode.
Open fire! Engage the targets!
Everyone braced for the most legendary reversal in Pacific history.
Brace yourselves! Hold fast!
Incoming! Get down!
We're taking heavy fire!
Pilots dove so fast, the wind peeled their faces backward. Japanese sailors shouted commands so loudly, it sounded like a morning market. Anti-air guns fired wildly, lighting the sky with angry sparks. American pilots dodged chaos while thinking, just a little closer. No one dared blink. Blinking meant losing the target. The Japanese carrier filled the pilot's view like the world rushing upward. The pilot thought, well, guess I just aim and pray. Japanese sailors scattered across the deck like a panicked flock.
Get below deck now!
Wind, gunfire, and screaming blended into one chaotic remix.
Suppressive fire on the left flank!
Then came the legendary American bomb drop in one clean motion. The bombs fell gently until they didn't. Japanese sailors watched them descend with Wi-Fi disconnected faces. A split second later, the entire deck erupted like a volcanic stove. One Japanese carrier exploded with the sigh of history itself. The American pilot internally screamed, "We got them!" Japan realized instantly, oh, we're actually in trouble. Flames shot upward like writing GG across the sky. The US squadron circled back, thinking, that was surprisingly effective. Japan tried putting out the fires, but their panic made everything worse. Sailors jumped overboard like in an emergency diving contest.
Get clear! Swim away from the hull!
That was just the first strike. Midway had more planned. The US squadron was ordered to locate the remaining Japanese carriers.
Hang on, stabilize the dive!
Japan reshuffled their formation like a player who lost half the pieces. The Americans flew with the strategy. See target, attack target.
All squadron, aggressive maneuvers initiated.
They scouted the skies like bees looking for flowers. Japan below was so stressed, the officers stared without blinking.
Well, I guess this is it.
Pilots checked their gauges, thinking, running out of fuel, but whatever. Japanese officers argued in confusion, words tripping over each other. America activated their kamikaze but not really mindset. Find dive drop. The sky over Midway looked like a chaotic action movie. Then they spotted Japan's second carrier, like finding the side quest boss. The pilots dove again, determined to end it. Japanese sailors below scattered, as if deja vu punched them in the face. Anti-air fire filled the sky, like slicing through clouds. The US pilots dodged while thinking, not dying again today. They had mere seconds to aim, hands trembling from adrenaline. The Japanese deck was filled with fueled aircraft, perfect targets.
Take cover!
The American pilot whispered internally, sorry in advance, and released the bomb. Japan froze like a computer crashing. Another massive explosion lifted the deck off its hinges. Flames rolled upward, swallowing everything in orange fury. The US squadron thought, all right, two down.
We got 'em.
Japan silently questioned life choices. The US searched for the third carrier with nearly empty tanks. Japan tried preparing aircraft, but everything was already behind schedule. The Americans arrived faster than anyone expected.
Coming in hot!
Japan signaled takeoff, but the bomb said, I'll go first. Another blast turned the deck into a blazing wasteland. Smoke rose so thick, it blurred the sky. The American pilots felt exhausted, yet thrilled. This is history. Japan sat in hopeless disbelief. 3 carriers burning in one morning felt unreal to everyone.
What was that? We just hit something!
Even the Americans were shocked at the speed of it. Japan tried responding, but every system was collapsing. Only one Japanese carrier remained, struggling like the last student called in class. American pilots knew this final strike would end everything. Fuel low, light fading, but determination firing hot.
Hold the line! Don't give an inch!
Japan gathered whatever courage they had left. America entered final round mode with zero hesitation. The sky prepared for one more firestorm. The US squadron hunted the final carrier like a boss fight finale. Japanese sailors ran in panic without knowing where to run. Anti-air fire lit up the sky in desperate bursts. American pilots dodged, thinking, please let this be the last dive today. The final carrier emerged through the smoke like a wounded giant.
We have to move faster! Get that bomb secured now! Push!
Sailors scrambled to prepare the deck in pure desperation. The Americans descended, gripping their controls like lifelines. Japan looked up, thinking, not again. Please, not again. The pilots hit the perfect dive angle and committed fully. Bombs detached gently, like feathers, but carried doom inside. The entire sky held its breath for a heartbeat. Bombs landed. Japan barely had time to scream. The explosion swallowed the deck instantly in blazing fire. The U.S. pilots circled upward, knowing it's over. Japan realized the battle had no path left to victory. The Pacific literally changed colors that morning. The carrier tilted, metal tearing as it slipped under the waves. Above, American pilots breathed for the first time in hours. They knew they had changed the war in a single morning. Radio chatter filled the air with exhausted joy. We made it, boys.
We're coming home! They made it!
Hurrah! Welcome home, boys.
We made it!
Welcome home!
Yeah, welcome back!
Everyone understood this was a historic miracle of naval warfare. Midway went from tiny target to legendary turning point. Japan lost 4 first-line carriers, like losing every trump card at once. That single battle flipped the entire Pacific War upside down. America went from hopeless to, wait, we might actually win this. On deck, sailors laughed shakily, barely believing they survived. Pilots collapsed on the floor, breathing like they ran a marathon. And Midway ended with a plot twist that even history books admire. The day the rising sun dimmed because a squadron of Dauntless decided to rewrite destiny.